So for our next panel, we actually have, first I got to give a sponsor shout out. Humble was founded to deliver an integrated Web3 digital commerce platform for consumers, merchants, and governments. Humble was delivered one of the first integrated technology environments in which a digital wallet, search engine, and social media and marketplace listings can be used together in one place. Now, as many of you know, the GBA is a business league, like a chamber of commerce. However, many of our members are driven by deep-seated desires to make the world a better place. While a business league needs to focus on the well-being of its members, a charitable organization focuses on the well-being of others. Up till now, we have been structured to serve people outside of our membership, but that is no longer the case. We are excited to announce the strategic alliance with the Global Blockchain Foundation, GBF, a 501c3 charitable organization, and the GBF is entirely a separate organization. Its leadership is comprised of current and former GBA leadership team members, and working together, the GBA and GBF can accept funds, build solutions, and serve the global community. Please welcome the board of the GBF to tell you more about it.
Just FYI, I am not on the board of the GBF, but I do want to tell you a little bit about it and the relationship with the GBA, and then I'll tell you about the members of the board. So, as many of you know, the GBA is a business league. We're a 501c6 business league organization, and the role of a business league is to support its members, right? So, many of you may have encountered me and you know, asked for things, and the first question I'll ask is, are you a member, right? Because my job is to support the members, right? But a lot of times people come up to me and they say, hey, there's a situation here, blah, blah, blah. You should get involved in this policy. You should get involved in this charity. And it pains me to say that's outside the scope of what we're all about, right? As a business league, I have to support the business, right? And for public sector folks, that means I have to help the public sector meet mission. And for the private sector, what I have to do is help the private sector essentially get jobs, contracts, and opportunities with other private sector members and government, right? And but that doesn't mean I don't have a heart, right? I do believe that businesses should be businesses and charities should be charities. And when a charity tries to be a business or a business tries to be a charity, it doesn't do either one of them very well. And we have many members in our organization that are very cause-driven, right? So it was frustrating, and so what we did is, starting with Ross, back in the back, probably about 2 years ago, maybe longer, we started talking about putting together a foundation so that there was a place to go for people to do charity work. And then Jerry right here, he approached us and he said, look, I've got a 501c3 that's not being used right now, and so we put a bunch of things together. So now the GBA formally has a 501c3 charitable organization that can receive money and grants and funds and can solicit funds and give tax-deductible receipts, right? And then we can take that money, they can then bring it over to the GBA where we have business people that build solutions to solve problems that satisfy charitable needs. So that's the role in the relationship. Now we keep it entirely separate. So the board of the GBA, the Global Blockchain Foundation, is completely independent. I am an advisor, so we do talk a lot. They like my opinion, even though I don't always make them happy. But and we're at the very beginning. So I'm going to let you hear from them. But I'm going to start with I'm going to introduce Robert Levin, who is the chair of the foundation. And then I'll let him introduce the rest. And then we're also going to have Greg join us as well. But let's do the board first. So for those of you who don't know Robert Levin, Robert Levin was a technology pioneer of the World Economic Forum in artificial intelligence, and he was a tech laureate by the Tech Museum of Innovation. He is a futurist, inventor, tech investor, fund manager, and a visionary of megatrends in AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, and digital transformation of nations. Robert Levin is also the chairman of the Global Blockchain Foundation and the author of the first best-selling biography of Bill Clinton. He's the Annual Achievement Award. He conceived the Annual Achievement Award in 2009, where we inaugurated in the United States Capitol in January 2020. Oh, sorry, he came up with it in 2019. So please help me welcome Mr. Robert Levin to host to talk about the GBF.
So it's my pleasure to introduce two co-members of the Board of Directors, and thank you, Gerard, for the introduction. So first, I'll give a few remarks after introducing my colleagues. First, I'd like to introduce Jerry Berberian, the co-founder of the Global Blockchain Foundation, and our GBA U.S. regional lead. He's a crypto entrepreneur and a CEO of DeFi Solutions, and along with us, he's also committed to public service and has a proven track record in successful dispute resolution cases. So if anyone has a dispute, see him afterwards. So, okay. So with regard to my other colleague, who, oh, come on up to the stage. I know Ross. Thanks, Ross. So Ross is a longtime, thank you, Ross. Ross is a longtime friend of the Government Blockchain Association. He served as the Director of Development of the GBA before moving over to GBF. He leads the GBA Gaming Working Group and is a leader in the mobilization of charitable giving through gaming and blockchain in a transparent, accountable, and immutable way in support of benefiting the donors, our not-for-profit organizations and the communities they serve, and those that govern, regulate, and bring compliance to our industry. So they're both world-class leaders, and we warmly welcome them to the board of the Global Blockchain Foundation. Thank you for your service. I also learned that Jerry is of Armenian heritage. I grew up in Fresno, along with Waterford, Massachusetts, and Fresno. These are two centers where William Saroyan wrote the Red Pony and other plays that, that became a major motion picture. So there's great Armenians, and he's one of the great Armenians.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so all of us have a passion for blockchain. We're all inspired by the Dache leadership team. We're all inspired by the future of blockchain. So just because we're speaking to a broader audience and we want to reach out to donors, to the global blockchain community to support not only GBA but other projects. So first, one of the goals is to support the Sustainable Development Goal number 17, which is part of the Sustainable Goals for 2030. And blockchain, as you know, has evolved into a major industry with significant social impact, including impact on some of the Sustainable Development Goals. Because UNICEF is adopting it, the United Nations Development Program is adopting it, the World Health Organization is adopting it, the High Commissioner on Refugees is adopting it, the Pension Fund has adopted it, and there's a lot of activity inside of the UN system, which is enormous. 1/3 is in Geneva, Switzerland, 1/3 is in New York, and 1/3 is distributed in Kenya and 5 other places. So we have a big footprint in our relationship with the UN, and we want to be a leader in that space. So because of the decentralized and transparent nature of blockchain to drive efficiency, security, and trust, not only in the for-profit space and the government space, but also in the humanitarian space. So we feel very strongly that food security will be needing the blockchain, and cybersecurity, refugees. There's over more refugees than we've had since World War II on the move, and we need to help them, and we have to track their needs, and that can be done transparently on the blockchain with data privacy and security. So in healthcare, as you know, data security can be made interoperable. Patient privacy, not only HIPAA, but privacy laws all over the world can be respected and programmed into medical records and telemedicine, and blockchain can contribute to renewable energy, climate change mitigation, peer-to-peer energy trading, enhanced grid management, incentivizing sustainable practices. So we see that blockchain can contribute to several goals, including SDG 16, peace, justice, strong institutions, so fighting corruption, for instance, increasing connectivity to citizens, so citizens can have a bigger influence in their democracies, and democracies can function better through voting security. SDG 1, to reduce poverty, which is the goal of the World Bank, which is also adopting the blockchain. So in SDG 10, reducing inequality, but our focus is SDG 17, which is partnerships. So that's a little bit about our role with regard to SDGs. We're also focused on BMM, blockchain maturity model. We're passionate about it, and we believe that this sets a global standard, and by helping the industry adopt these standards, we believe that this will increase the adoption rate and increase the trust in the blockchain and the service providers and the new products that will eventually replace the old system. So because of the educational component of our foundation, we believe in the education mission of GBA. We believe that workforce development and one of their standing committees having to do with workforce development is very important. And we believe that GBA will be adopting new business models, new use case scenarios, and establishing new working groups that will need our support. So we're going to be reaching out to a selective group of family foundations and large public foundations, like could be the Rockefeller Foundation, the Bloomberg Foundation, the Dalio Foundation. I know all of them, and I believe that they'll be supporting GBA through the government, through the Global Blockchain Foundation. So with that, we'd like to have a discussion with our co-board members and then reach out to the audience. And first, should we have Greg come up for a minute or two or not? We'll have the discussion, and then you can introduce Greg at the end.
Yeah, and then we'll give him some dedicated time so that he
Sounds good.
And we have an empty chair, Gerard. Do you want to come up here and moderate, maybe?
That'd be great. Okay.
First of all, let's hear it for these guys. Because what they did is they said, hey, you know what? There's a lot of important things to do. And remember earlier we were talking about fundraising. These guys said somebody needs to stand up and do it, and they decided to stand up and do it. So I want to thank you all for your support of the GBA and the support to the community. All right. You want me to ask you guys questions? You can tell this is very well rehearsed. You want me to ask you for questions, or do you want to?
Ask questions and then ask the audience
Okay.
questions, and we'll try to answer the audience questions.
Okay. So here's my first question. If there's somebody out there that would, yeah, grab your mics. If somebody in the audience or somebody watching online would like to support the work of the GBA, how could they do it? They're sitting at home. They want to support it. What can they do?
So we have a bank account, and they'll be able to donate money, and we'll issue a receipt that will be a tax-deductible donation receipt, so they'll be able to deduct it on their annual tax form 1040.
Okay, and now your website is not up yet, is that correct, or it's going to be up soon?
It is not.
Okay, so we'll put something out. We'll put something on our website when it is, and we'll send some stuff out to our members. All right, now if I'm sitting out there, how do I know I can trust you guys?
So we'll have full transparency. Our minutes perhaps will be on the blockchain soon, but in the meantime, we're adopting best practices and ethical standards as a not-for-profit. So we'll be available to tell people what the status of the organization is from a financial point of view. Our 990s, which is the form that all foundations and not-for-profits have to fill out through their accountant, has to be filed with the IRS, and that'll be transparently available online. It takes 3 years to get rated by Charity Navigator and other monitors that evaluate the performance and the standards and the expense ratios. So all of that will be transparently available in the future.
We will be the most transparent foundation ever. I mean, we are a foundation for the blockchain industry, so we're going to be on the blockchain. So it's going to be there for everyone.
To ensure the funding provided is directed towards the projects with the highest potential impact, we have a set of metrics and criteria meticulously established, very much like the BMM. These metrics will evaluate the viability, the scalability, and the social value of the proposed projects. They serve as a compass, a guiding light. We want to see where the allocation of these resources is best aimed towards the endeavors to promote the long-term goals of the GBA, the GBF, and also the blockchain community.
How did you know I was going to ask that question?
And just
We're in line.
Yeah, we are in line.
to add to what Jerry's saying, you know, I think as an organization where we're going to be able to bring value to the industry is we're looking at ways to measure the other capitals out there. You know, we think financial capital, but there are other kinds of capital that come together to make things happen. Creative capital, social capital, intellectual capital. We can just come up with endless kinds of capital. And so how do we quantify the value of that capital within the equation to solve problems? And how do, when people contribute capital or resources to a project, how do we measure the results of that contribution? You know, math is very simple. We've been doing it forever and ever and ever. We can put things between the math lines. But if somebody gives us $10,000, we can say, yeah, we spent the money this way. But I think the next step is to show what was done with that money and the value that that money brought to the social equation and to our communities.
No, we have 10. Yeah. Yeah. And incidentally, they've asked me to put together an advisory board, or actually it's more of a monitoring board. We in the GBA don't want to tell them what to do, but we do want to monitor them to make sure that, and I trust all of them emphatically, but we do want to monitor them to make sure as we go forward that everything is being done as it should. It'll take time for everything to get blockchainified and you know, all of that stuff that we really need for monitoring. It's not going to happen overnight. So if anybody is interested in participating in being in a monitoring/oversight board, please reach out to me because I'm putting that board in, and we want folks to have, there needs to be appropriate oversight. So Jerry, I'll start with you because I know you're not going to know that I'm asking this question. And this is for all three of you. Why are you doing this?
I'm not just saying it, but I knew you were going to ask me that question. No, but very honestly, from my heart, first of all, thank you for everything that you guys do, Miss Kathy, yourself, for putting this together. When I got here a year ago, or just a little bit over a year ago, I saw that the things you're doing here play a vital role in fostering innovation, driving technological advances, and shaping the future of our digital landscape. With that said, every one of us here tries to help and do our part here as a GBA member. And just like you said originally, there was that part that I found to say, what can I do here? And that was to say that every single time we come together, we're hearing about groundbreaking technologies, everybody's version of excellence provided to this digital block space, to the digital blockchain. And at the end of the day, once the BMM gets somebody assessed and their solution is ready for the world, now it needs capital, it needs money, it needs a team who can monetize it, take it to the right demographic, and get this used by everybody. That's where I thought that the 501c3 element that was just sitting on a shelf now found its purpose in this life. And it was really to complement and offer more abilities for the GBA to dip their toes into different waters that we have. You know, since we're a business league, there are certain parameters that restrict this, but with the 501c3, it opened up a whole new channel. And it was really to put more on the table so that the GBA can continue to do more for what you're doing for the space. So it was really your presence that gave birth to the GBF. We thank you.
Well, let me tell you something about this guy. When I first met him, I thought he was a little crazy. He's very high energy and he's very high functioning, right? But one of the things I learned about him early on was, while he had a very successful business, right, in the construction industry, and he's done a lot of stuff, he took a lot of his time, he stepped away from that business and volunteered in the court system to help people with legal problems. And so he's very bright, he's very others focused, and he's very compassionate and really cares about other people and puts time and effort in helping other people. So he is a real deal. The rest of you guys now know the question. Ross, why are you doing this?
Because I think this is where I'm needed right now in the industry. I think that this vehicle is an important piece. I've been with the GBA for 3 years. I've served in various leadership positions. And, you know, one of the mission, and I do want to mention, you know, Gerard gave me the credit for the spark on this, but it was also Teresu, my partner, that helped inspire it. Because, you know, we were in the GBA, we were supported it, we looked at where we could bring value. We've been through this process over the last 20 years with other membership organizations, particularly in the veteran service space. You have veteran service organizations that are 501c19s, and they don't have that tax benefit, so we've helped them create foundations in the past to have a vehicle where they could pursue grant monies and other opportunities to bring money in to support their core. So I said that's where I feel that I bring value in supporting the GBA. You know, our foundation is not GBA-centric. We were born out of the GBA, so to speak, and inspired by the GBA. But, you know, as Gerard talks about building our advisory board, we want to reach inside our GBA family and community to build that. Because, as I said...
Russ, I got it, because I got to get Greg
Okay,
some
no,
time.
sorry.
Yeah. No, I got one more question for you before you go. You've been serving veterans organizations for a while. How long have you been serving veterans organizations? In like 30 seconds, just highlight what you've been doing for veterans and how long you've been doing it.
20 years. 20 years we've been working in the veteran
Put the mic
service
closer.
space.
Put the mic-
Yeah, 20 years we've been working in the veteran service space. I'm not a veteran. I don't consider myself a military brat. I grew up military family, more like military surplus. I didn't serve, but my way of serving my country has been to serve veterans, because by taking care of veterans, I'm taking care of my family. And working over the last 20 years, our focus has been to bring technology to help these older veteran service organizations and infrastructure transition. You know, some of them it's still into the 20th century, believe it or not, but we're getting there. And it's good timing transition-wise, because it's a good time to bring blockchain in. And when you look at ways of bringing the immutability and accountability of the tools that we work with, a great place to start is within organizations. And we are a blockchain organization. We got all the tools, you know.
So these guys have a long history of serving others, which really, in addition to their knowledge, skills, and capabilities, make them an excellent fit for this board. And Robert,
Thank you.
why are you doing this?
Well, I think that we're part of a very significant movement of technological transformation globally. The development banks around the world are all adopting blockchain. The largest financial institutions, the largest international multilateral institutions are adopting blockchain. So we see a big role not only for the blockchain maturity model from GBA, but we also see a big role for blockchain at large in workforce development and economic development, and particularly sustainable development through partnerships, public-private partnerships. So with that vision in mind, we're all three of us, all four of us are inspired by the opportunity to marshal capital for social impact, for social venture philanthropy that will catalyze and seed, not only support the GBA's initiatives, including the blockchain maturity model and workforce development, but other working groups that are innovators in use case scenarios in the blockchain. So we think that the social impact side deserves a separate entity to finance and catalyze and propel those initiatives. And we understand the role of not-for-profit capital is separate from private capital, but we believe that there's a blend, an opportunity to bring both kinds of capital, particularly those who are philanthropists who want to see a big social impact coming from this infrastructure layer, which is permanent and, immutable and will help support not only for-profit goals, but also social goals and environmental goals and sustainability for economic development.
So just FYI, Brian and Jordan, I'm going to take some time out of my time to give to Greg, so we'll go a little bit longer, but then we can shave that off of my my next section. Okay, I just need just a couple more minutes. Real quick, we'll do a question in just a minute. Yeah. So while the mic's going over to you, a quick answer. The grant process, right? If there are folks out there that would like to get funding from the GBF, right? Walk through the process of how does if somebody's got a project that has social impact, right, and they would like to get a grant, how do you connect them to people with money?
Well, it would help to starting out of the box here that your project specifically benefits the GBA and GBA membership and the industry as a whole. So if you have a project sort of in that kind of thing, we'd love to hear from you. Let Gerard know, and
Also, I'd like to add that part of the criteria is to be built alongside the BMM. So your first start is through the GBA. It's through bringing your products to market under the guidelines of the BMM. Once that's been established, that's when we really start to look and start to expose you to the right investors, the right people who are a part of your project, and also the right demographic that's going to use your project. So the first step is always through the GBA and then the BMM, but after that, sky's the limit, and that's why we're here to sort of be that vehicle.
And real quick, there's two channels for funding, right? There's investment in startup, which is Dr. Ingrid Vasilia-Filtes runs that, and then we have the charitable or the grant stuff. So this is going to be the grant funding channel, and then working with Ingrid is going to be through the investment channel, right? But we will set up a process. We're still fairly young in the process. There'll be a form on the website where if you want funding, you can say, hey, here's what I'm doing and why, and we'll get it to these guys. These guys will have a process for reaching out to family offices and different government grant making organizations, and we're going to create that. It's going to take us a little time, but we're definitely in the process for doing that. So with that, let me
questions. There were a couple questions.
yeah, we got a question there.
Thanks for taking the time to talk about this stuff. I'm wondering if we could take a step back and higher up and talk a little bit about the mission, vision, values, and principles. And then it sounds like it's geared toward investing in projects, but is that the scope, or is it more broad?
It would be investing in the GBA members. It would be investing in us, the brilliance that's in this room. In 1776, obviously, the Declaration of Independence was published. Over in France, The Wealth of Nations was published. A classical economist by the name of Adam Smith said that in an open market, when everything is free and there's competition, a person's version of their excellence, their products introduced to a marketplace will benefit the consumer and the producer. We're sitting in that room today. We're in front of blockchain. It's an open market. Everything that we put out, each one of our ideas, each one of our solutions is our version of excellence to a marketplace. We're simply here to be the vehicle that takes that to the right user. Through the efforts of the GBA and the BMM, our work is very easy. We're all experienced in monetizing and taking businesses to market. This is simply just a 501c3, not-for-profit vehicle, and the grants that are available are what we'll utilize to get all of us there.
And just a high level, I'm looking at this as a vehicle to be supportive at coming at some of the things that are holding our industry back. Infrastructure, wallets, identity, the pieces of the industry that once we figure out how that works is going to set everybody free. So we're going to focus on building the public and the private partnerships with the organizations, with universities, just equity, you name it, whatever it is. It's not always about the money. What do you have that you can pitch into the stone soup so we all have a chance to eat?
Guys, we're out of time.